This is a 30 years old SiliconGraphics IndyCam.
Oh my, what's this blur?
This is what happens when you're playing around with old hardware and end up doing a retro video editing session. Retro computing is the use of older computer hardware and software in modern times. I'm the vintage collector and these are my stories. So using said IndyCam hooked up to my Indy workstation, I also connected a microphone. This is a test. To see if it works, the audio panel utility can be used. It's featuring a live monitoring option, so you see right away if the capturing works. The Indy has built-in capturing support and the video panel allows for checking the inputs, either the analog source or the IndyCam. And when double-clicking on the camera icon on the desktop, the capture utility would start right away. It allows setting for different resolutions, and so I took both a 320x240 capture but also a high resolution one at 640x424 pixels. Editing on vintage systems. But the Indy's limited hardware power reveals itself during playback, where I'd get this stuttering. I do hope the capture is complete and the stuttering only happened on playback. But I don't want to go down the route for video editing on the Indy. After all, this is still for the most about the SGI O2. So let's see how it copes with the two captured videos for playback. And end up doing a retro video editing session. Alright, the low resolution video seems okay. But what about the high resolution capture? This is what happens when you're toying around with old hardware and end up... Okay, surprisingly enough it plays just fine, although I hear some audio jitter. In overall, the IndyCam did quite a good job for capturing the video. SGI shipped the IRIX operating system not only with capturing and playback utilities, but also editing tools for video and audio. Here's the audio editor, which is much like modern days audio editors. Maybe a bit less sophisticated, but it has the most important things, so you can cut segments, reduce the audio gain, reverse segments and more. And to edit multi-track audio, the soundtrack program comes into play, as it's perfectly suited for creating multi-track soundtrack files. And you're going to need that functionality, as we'll be seeing in a moment. Retro computing is the use of older computer hardware and software. But first we'll have to have a few words about video formats. In my last video about upgrading the SGI O2 CPU, I was asserting video conversion times using the DM-Convert utility, actually for the AVI, QuickTime and SGI Movie and MPEG-1 formats. And that's about it as far as the supported video formats on SGI IRIX are concerned. And while the SGI Movie format is not supported nowadays, AVI and QuickTime should be no problem. Or is it? Now, the thing is that also AVI and QuickTime have evolved over the years. I didn't try on a contemporary Windows machine, but only on Mac OS, where I'm doing my present day video editing. And apparently the current codecs on Mac OS didn't fare well with the video formats of 25 years ago. VLC as a third-party player on Mac OS did far better, but also was not perfect. In the best case, audio would play or I'd get scrambled video, sometimes with color distortions, if anything at all. So it was inevitable to perform format conversions to make the SGI created video files usable on Mac OS. Luckily, FFmpeg can do that, though you need proper parameterization. And although you can export videos in AVI and QuickTime formats from the SiliconGraphics machine, I ended up taking the SGI movie format files and converting them for the best result in terms of compatibility. This is what happens when you're playing around with old hardware. As you can imagine, it wouldn't be any better the other way around. I had to do quite some trial and error on what works and what not. FFmpeg comes with the FF Pro utility, which can analyze the codec settings on any given file. And even though I tried to match the formats exactly for all the 3 supported formats, it turned out that the AVI files were actually the best thing to bring over from the modern to the legacy world. However, not without a little pitfall, as the videos were then flipped upside down. So I had to tinker with the settings on FFmpeg to flip the image upon conversion. But that wouldn't be the only pain point, as also the audio files were sometimes not as straightforward as you may think. While WAV files usually work fine, sometimes they wouldn't work correctly on some of the IRIX utilities. The included MovieMaker, for example, sometimes just silently failed to import some WAV files. This is especially odd, as the file would open and play just fine in Sound Editor, but going the detour via the Media Convert utility would help in these cases, simply converting the WAV file into the WAV format again, which would remove some annoying bits from the file to make it work with MovieMaker.
You did notice that the program has the same name as Windows MovieMaker.
Yes, but SGI's MovieMaker predated Microsoft's MovieMaker by several years. The Windows variant, which besides the name similarity has nothing to do with the SGI's variant, debuted only in the year 2000 with Windows 2000 and Windows ME. However, SGI's MovieMaker is quite similar to the concept seen on modern day's video editors. You're importing your media files and put them straight away into the timeline. Any sections you don't need can easily be cut out, or they can simply be moved around in the timeline. And when you're adding audio clips, it offers some limited functionality for audio editing, like you can change the audio gain on marked segments. However, it's quite challenging to keep track of things, as when compared to modern day's Final Cut. You don't get to see the actual waveform or other details directly in the timeline. The information is accessible in the right hand pane, though I'm really struggling with it, say, as it feels very archaic. Once done with the editing process, your video can easily be exported to the different formats. I want to take some comparison, will thus be exporting them all to SGI Movie, AVI and QuickTime formats. MovieMaker not only offers the file export functionality, but also this option here which reads Print to Videotape. According to my investigation, this does exactly what the name implies, namely exporting the movie to the videotape recorder connected to the S-Video Out connector. My O2 doesn't have the AV board, but just a plain audio board with the RCA jacks. I could actually try this on another SGI machine I have, the Indigo 2, but the machine is currently not ready for use. And the SGI Indy finally is not an option, although it has an S-Video port, it's only an input and not capable for video output. As much as I would have loved to investigate this feature as well, I'm currently unable to do so due to the lack of suitable equipment at the time. Anyways, after exporting the video files, I'll do a brief playback test. This is what happens when you're playing around with old hardware. And while all of them play just fine, I do hear some audio jitter and knocking noise, which is more present in the AVI file and less pronounced in the QuickTime and SGI movie files. A retro video editing session.
At least the output files were saved quickly, so the O2 really rocks at doing video processing.
Not so fast, my friend. I was editing in 320 by 240 resolution, which admittedly went quite quickly so far. But it looks all different when doing the same on a 720 by 576 resolution. That's not necessarily during the editing process itself yet, which works quite well. Here we get to see as well that the video taken from the IndyCam captured at 640 by 424 can be stretched to match the higher video resolution. Of course, this will ultimately come at a quality loss, as this is really video stretching and not quality upscaling as we can do on the present days. Also, it's possible to recenter any footage you have to match up with the movie roll. And upon exporting at the higher resolution, what used to take just a mere 30 seconds before now takes some 4 minutes to complete. And this for a roughly 20-second sequence and per individual output format, to be precise.
After all, it's the 90s and you did already the max resolution thing. And there was surely also something like hardware acceleration.
Well, SGI offered some hardware acceleration options like Cosmo compress boards for the MPEG compression, but as far as I read, the typical and preferred use case back in the day seemed to have been working with uncompressed videos. Having said that, also the output files would have been stored in uncompressed format. Although I can imagine the huge amount of data it would have taken, as we're going to see when I'm about to create an HD video.
Ah, come on, you're not honestly making us to believe you can do HD video editing on this antique machine.
You bet, as I'm copying over an uncompressed HD footage of the Vintage Collector intro in this very moment. Now, to save myself a bit of time, the footage was created on the Mac and then exported and converted to AVI format without an audio track.
Ah, so you're cheating?
I wouldn't call it like that, as I have my good reasons to do so actually. And while the pre-captured footage of way over 2 GB for a roughly 10-second sequence is still downloading, I'm already setting up the custom Full HD resolution in MovieMaker. Yes, importing it takes ages, 5 minutes. That's also the reason I copied it from the file server first, as it would have taken even longer otherwise, as the O2 has only a 100 megabits network interface. And even with the clip finally being imported and also shown on the timeline, you'll notice that it would never show any actual frame but just the grey area. I can still drop in the audio tracks as needed and it seems to work, but I have totally no idea what will be the outcome in the end. The torture begins with the export, which would last roughly 15 minutes per output format. And this for a roughly 10-second sequence.
Okay, so it seems impractical, but would you now actually get an HD movie from it or just garbage?
Well, see yourself. Retrocomputing is the use of older computer hardware and software in modern times. I'm the Vintage Collector, and these are my stories. Admittedly, some frames were dropped here and there and the crop is a bit misaligned, but from a distance, it's more or less Full HD, 1080p at 30 frames per second. That was unexpected. The outcome for the SD format was foreseeable, but I totally didn't think about it being possible to get some HD-alike material out. Alright, I cheated a bit. The O2 with a scarce 160 MB of RAM would not be able to show the video frames at the Full HD resolution. Maybe it would work with maximum RAM, or maybe it would be possible to see the video frames on an octane or fuel with 8 GB of RAM. But I could place the HD footage into the MovieMaker and get an HD rendered movie out from it, without causing any lockups or crashes. But that's not the end yet, because the O2 workstations were actually used for exactly this purpose back in the day, and obviously widely in use in TV networks. And SGI also promoted the O2s for that purpose, as they also offered media bundles with the AV board and Adobe Premiere 4.2. Yes, you heard right, Adobe Premiere was available for SiliconGraphics. And luckily enough, someone made exactly this O2 bundled version available online. Originally, this package was made for SGI IRIX 6.3, so I wouldn't be surprised for it to not run on IRIX 6.5. And although I found some claims it wouldn't run on anything else than an O2, I gave it a shot on the Octane. And it started up just fine, even though I would get to see this obscure but meaningless error message popping up during startup. So with Premiere at my hands, I could now try to create an even more sophisticated video cut. But to be honest, I never worked with Premiere. I only ever used Apple's Final Cut, so going down the full learning curve for today's video is going too far. So I'm happy enough to put my footage briefly into the timeline, essentially redoing the same steps I did before using SGI's MovieMaker.
And ended up doing a retro video editing session.
But when trying to render the video on the Octane, I'd always end up with an incomplete video file. So I went back to the O2 where I came a bit further. But even there, the rendered output file would be incomplete for reasons unknown to me. And while it did include at least some of the footage, it would just be suddenly cut off. At least when checking the movie integrity, I'd get this error message, though no further hint at how to resolve it. I guess I'll need to take another look at it to figure out what's wrong. I think it was HTMLXP who asked me to do a full video using retro video editing techniques. Maybe I'll be doing so, but I'm scared. The editing will take a long time, and yet the rendering time. Or what do you think? Would you watch a retro edition of the Vintage Collector in 320x240 resolution, a 90s style video? Let me know in the comments below. I'm the Vintage Collector, and this concludes my journey into the SiliconGraphics O2 workstation for the time. I'll be back for new shenanigans Sunday next week, and if you can't wait, why don't you check out any of my other videos on this channel. Thanks for watching, and see you around.